Well, I began the Mass by asking a very maybe difficult question. And the question was not, did you receive the Holy Spirit? That was not the question. The question was, did Jesus Christ, after he returned to the Father, did he remain true to his promise to send you the Holy Spirit? That is the question. There's a big difference because the Holy Spirit does not begin with me or you. Don't start with yourself. Start with, did Jesus remain true to his promise? And don't tell your answer to everyone. No need. It's a journey that each one of us will have to make. Of course, you may give me the answer, yes, he remained true to his promise. The Acts of the Apostles says that Peter and the 12 apostles, Mary and a handful of disciples who were in the upper room received the Holy Spirit. Well, that's not my question. My question is, have you? Can you testify that Jesus was true to his promise made to you? Okay, so let's go back 2,000 years to go where? Go to Jerusalem. Where in Jerusalem? To a place called the Upper Room. Not to Calvary, okay? To the Upper Room, where the first Eucharist was celebrated. That's where they were. Very small number, Peter and the 11, Mary and a handful of disciples. Maybe it's 12, Peter plus and the 12 plus Mary, 13, maybe a few more, not more than 15 or 20 people in that upper room. And don't go out to start looking at what happened out there after the event. Remain in the upper room and see what happened there first. No showmanship, no audience, nothing. It happened inside. Pentecost happened within the upper room. Let's just look at Acts of the Apostles. This is an eyewitness account. How do we know? Probably Peter would have related it to Luke. And Luke is the only one who gives us the description of what happened at Pentecost. Nobody else describes it in terms of what happened that day. Okay, so what happened? Pentecost day came. First thing we notice is powerful wind. Ooh, you know, when there's powerful wind and storms, which we get quite a bit these days, there's a lot of noise with the powerful wind. And what else? Tongues of fire. No dove there. Tongues of fire. Where did it rest? On the head of each of the persons who were in the upper room. Then, one simple sentence, they were filled with the Holy Spirit. And the first gift they received after receiving the Holy Spirit was the gift of speech. Now, I suggest, don't be too taken up or distracted by the wind and the fire and the noise and all these signs. All these signs are pointing to the reality. And the reality, the bottom line, is the Holy Spirit. Go beyond signs. Don't get distracted with signs, and then you miss the Holy Spirit. Okay. So after this, what did they do? They came out. Who came out? Peter. The apostles came out. And you will notice that the first spokesperson is Peter. Who put him in charge? He's the key. Jesus put Peter in charge of the apostles. So Peter speaks out. And then what do we see? Remember, one of the first gifts of the Spirit they received was the gift of speech. Well, it's rather interesting that something happened at the level of speech, words, language. And you and I know, beginning with what goes on at home, or even with the Presbyterian and the clergy and religious community everywhere, including families, how divisive speech can be, words can be, language can be. So what is going on here? What is the language of the Holy Spirit? The gift of speech that they received. And it is beyond English la, Bahasa Malaysia la, Mandarin la, Tamil la. We are struggling with all these languages in our West Malaysian church, and we will continue. But there's something deeper. When the Holy Spirit comes, everything changes. So what happened? As you know, these people gathered out there, from the Arabs to the Libyans. These are maybe countries that you will recognize, and Asians and many others. They all understood. Not that the apostles knew all these languages, but the Holy Spirit unites. Our colonial masters, we are told, divided and ruled. And our politicians may be doing the same today. And maybe even religious leaders are doing that. But the Holy Spirit is in the opposite direction. So that's what happened 2,000 years ago. But the question still remains, addressed to each one of us. Did Jesus remain true to his promise to you? Yes? No? Maybe? Not sure? Not yet? Whatever it may be, the answer, I believe the Holy Spirit will wait for us, including those of us who are not open yet. The Holy Spirit will wait. Let's go to St. Paul, second reading. He compares, Paul is a very down-to-earth kind of guy. He compares self-indulgence. There is a almost sick preoccupation with self these days. Even given very positive words, but with self-transcendence, self-acceptance, self-awareness, self-this, all good stuff. But St. Paul simply speaks about self-indulgence. And then the opposite of that is spirit indulgence. He gives all kinds of examples of self-indulgence, and he tells you point blank, it is the opposite of the Holy Spirit, self-indulgence. And he tells you point blank, those of you who are trying to impose all kinds of laws and regulations on, of course, follow SOPs lah, that one is common sense, okay? If you are led by the Spirit, no law can touch you. Wow. And we know how much we need laws for discipline, okay lah, whether in the country or in the church or wherever, or in any group. Anyway, so I don't want to go through the whole list of self-indulgence and what are the signs for it. Fornication, gross indecency, sexual irresponsibility, idolatry, sorcery, feuds, wrangling, jealousy, bad temper, quarrels, disagreements, factions, envy, drunkenness, orgies. I would like to add the use of language. The use of language to manipulate, to dominate, to control, and to divide. Because the first gift of the Spirit they received, after receiving the Holy Spirit, was the gift of speech. Speech that unites. And therefore, the gospel refers to the Holy Spirit as the Spirit of love and truth. And I want to tell you, truth also divides, because many are not ready for the truth. Anyway, Jesus refers to the Holy Spirit as the advocate. Ad plus vocare, advocate. The same word used for our dear lawyers, solicitors, advocate and solicitors, advocates and solicitors. Same word, exactly, is used for the Holy Spirit. Now, what does that mean? That means the Holy Spirit is one who speaks for you on your behalf, who pleads for you on your behalf, who intercedes for you on your behalf. The Holy Spirit is on your side even when you are guilty. The Holy Spirit defends you. That's what an advocate does, pleads for you. The second word given to the Holy Spirit is comforter. O Comforter, to thee we cry. Comforter. He is your companion, your comforter, your friend, not just your advocate. Now, such a kind of person obviously has to be very, very, very close to you. Such a kind of a person, an advocate, one of the first things he will ask you, even if you're guilty, please tell me the truth. What actually happened? Then he will find ways and means of finding some loophole in the law to get you out of trouble. So such a person like the Holy Spirit, who is your comforter and your advocate, obviously is very close to you. He's not outside of you. He is within you, very close to you. He is not your accuser. He's the opposite. So befriend the Holy Spirit. Don't be afraid of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the gift of the Father and the Son to the whole of creation, to all humanity, to the church, to all who seek God with a sincere heart, whatever religion, whatever spirituality you are promoting and even competing over. Don't contain or limit the Holy Spirit to our small little brains. Edith Stein, she's a saint, said, love and truth, two words given to the Holy Spirit. Spirit of love, Spirit of truth. Together. Love alone not enough. Truth alone not enough. Love and truth go together. Two sides of one coin. She said, love and truth, one without the other, is destructive. There are many chasing after love without truth. There are many chasing after truth without love. The Holy Spirit is going to make the two become one in each one of you. So I wish you all happy Pentecost. I wish you all lots of love and lots of truth so that you will survive, and more than survive, you will overcome all the challenges that are ahead of us. Yes, today we will hear even more SOPs, more directives coming from the federal government to even tighten the existing rules and regulations, where there will be even more social distancing, physical distancing, psychological distancing that comes along with physical and social distancing. But with the Holy Spirit, no distancing. The Holy Spirit is everywhere, is within you, and will make up for all the external distancing that is imposed on us for good reasons. So please befriend the Holy Spirit. That is the best gift Jesus left us with. What more do we want? Of course, we want good health and so on and so forth, in view of the mission that we are involved in, and we ask for that, okay, and for health. So I end with what I said yesterday about body language. I repeat it. I leave you with 3 body language. I don't want you to use too much your head. Use your body to understand how the Spirit works. Whenever you look at Mary, you see her with her hands clasped in prayer. As long as her hands are clasped in prayer, you and I are okay. Auntie Jane is okay. As long as Mary's hands are clasped in prayer. That is the first body language. Learn from your mother. The second is Jesus on the cross with his hands wide open. And what is that saying? It is saying, I exclude no one. I include everyone. It's the language of being inclusive, embracing the whole of creation, the whole of humanity, embracing saints and sinners, and it's none of your business to judge anyone, whether they are saints or sinners, including yourself. And the final gesture, body language, is about Pentecost, is about the Holy Spirit, and it is this. Simple. Don't crack your heads too much. Stretch out your hands, both hands, not one hand. And this is how, from the day of Pentecost till today, we have passed on the Holy Spirit from one to another. The bishop to those being confirmed, the bishop to those being ordained. But I empower all of you, especially those of you who are responsible for others, whether younger to you or older to you, to stretch out your hands and bless them and fill those that are entrusted to you with the gift, with the Holy Spirit. This is the gesture, that's all. No need long prayers. This is it. Fill them, your children, your grandchildren, those entrusted to you, those you care for at home, wherever they may be, the elderly, the sick, etc. Stretch out your hands and fill them with the Spirit. Prepare them for mission. Prepare them for death, if that is the case. And all we need is the Holy Spirit. And all you need is your 2 hands. not your mouth, your two hands. Just, and the prayer, come, O Holy Spirit, fill the hearts of my children, of the faithful. That's it. Finish. Story over. Let's get on with it. Please stand.